Hi. Hey everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host, and Disembodied Hands. You can come up, huh? Come on up, come on. There, and Kiki. Oh yeah, Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Justin and John, and my Keekers. Oh, good girl, Kiki, good girl. Oh no! We have overwhelming dog face. Okay, good girl. You said hello. Good girl. Good girl. Oh, and now she's sitting nicely and licking my hand. Whoa, dudes. Kiki's adult brain cells kicked in for that one. I wouldn't expect it normally. I wouldn't expect it. Now I've got a slime hand. Oh, no. Nope. Go away. Go see Daddy. Go see Daddy. Go jump. Go hop on Pop. Go hop on Pop. Yeah. Go hop on him. Well, he's doing a dungeon. Yeah. Oh, I gotta keep an eye on her because I don't have a... Papa, you gotta leave it. Hold on. Kiki, no. No, go. Do I have to shut you out of here? I don't want to shut you out. Go settle, Papa. Go settle. Oh, we've got Dingo, guys. Hold on. Got Dingo. Out. Nope, I'm shutting my door. Nope. Shutting my door. Yeah, you're too Dingo now. Go hop on Pop. She was really good there for a second, but then the Dingo escalated. She's a very silly Dingo. Yes, you're right. Very, very silly Dingo. All right, so hopefully it won't be too echoey in here. And if so, I can open the door again in just a little bit. It's just going to give her a few seconds to calm down. So yeah, so there you go. You got Dingo face this morning. Dingo face. A little less eating of mom. So yeah. So I will be happy when she can get her paws up on my lap and lick my face and then go instead of trying to eat the rest of me. Hey guys, how's it going? You know what I've discovered today? I've discovered that my favorite part of the holidays is the post-holidays before real life closes in again. Because this is the part of the holidays where I can still walk at night and enjoy the Christmas lights and not have any freaking obligations. Carnes, yeah, probably. This is our actual, channel as far as it goes. But I do know a lot of the people that have a show on Reaper Miniatures also host our channel when they're offline. Like I know I do. My Twitch channel hosts Reaper. So yeah, for sure. And Reaper's pretty well known in the miniatures industry, so it wouldn't surprise me. I know there are a lot of people that we raid regularly who also host us. So yeah. And hi. Oh no, Calablome. Oh no. Yeah, be careful ordering paint in the winter if nobody's warned you about it. Normally explosions are not the problem. Normally it's freezing paint, which can ruin the paint completely. But yeah, so today, let's see, where's my Winsor Newton? I've been using my Series 7 lately, just because why not? It's a Series 7 Zero. It's very similar to the brush that I use all the time, which is the Da Vinci Maestro Series 10 size 1. In fact, if we look at them together, if my Maestro will be a nice little Maestro, be nice. If we look at them together, we find that they are very close. The Maestro is slightly longer. It's on the bottom, on the left. And the Winsor Newton Series 7 is on the top, on the right. And they are very, very similar. The Winsor Newton is just a little bit shorter. It's a little bit thicker toward the bottom, which is hard to see. But yeah. Oh, freezing not usually a problem. Yeah, usually, you're right. Yeah, the shipping wouldn't, unless they shipped it north first, you wouldn't run into that. Oh, that can happen. And what you can do is to just contact Reaper customer service. They'll send you a new one. And also, if they get too many complaints on that, they will actually check the batch to make sure the lids are all... There we go. Quindy's got the link. Email help@reapermini.com. Yeah, and just let them know. But because in the paint department, what happens is we have a capping machine. And it's a person who's dealing with the capping machine, but the chuck, the fitting part that goes down and snugs on the cap, can get worn out over time. And it's not something that we can easily check. So when it first starts to get, when it really gets worn, we definitely notice. But when it first starts to get worn, you can get that kind of problem where the caps are not tightened down enough. And also when they just adjust the machine after doing a new cap. So definitely let them know, because if they get a couple of complaints there, it'll essentially prompt them to check the capper early just to make sure that it is seated correctly. Because that's something that can definitely happen. It doesn't happen often because we do, normally when you're working the machine, you can tell if it's tight or not. But there's that sweet spot where it's not super tight, where it's like just tight enough where you can move really fast. And so when it starts to wear a little bit, you get beyond that, and that's when you get those caps popping off. You can also have a problem if the nipple isn't seated correctly, where the cap tries to go down and it doesn't go all the way down. So all of the above. It's definitely like just something that does happen, but we'll absolutely replace the bottle for you. And if anything else got damaged, let us know. But help at reapermini.com is your thing. We have great customer service. Reaper prides itself on customer service. It has ever since Ed and Al started the company. So yeah. And yeah, good morning. I don't know if it really popped off like that, Agent Marvel. It's often, I find, having run to the department for 17 years, I find that it does tend to be a capping issue if you get that much paint, like if it's that loose. Like, and again, if it's not tightened down fully, that's when just normal shaking in the package might loosen it further. But it's definitely a capping issue, definitely, because it shouldn't be doing that. All right. Shop talk aside. Plus, I thought they were getting a capping appendage for Audrey, and I don't know if they got that or not, but that would be a whole new beast and probably also needs to be dialed in, so. Okay, I'm going to try opening my door again just to see if the Keekster is a good girl. Good girl. Are you going to be good? Yeah, good girl, Kiki. Go and chew your bone. Or your bully stick, as it were. Maybe I'll give her a bone later today. Yes. All right. So here we are. We're on Terezinya. She is a necromancer, but we're going to be painting her more vampiric-like. I did a kind of purplish coat last time, and now we are going to pop into that with some green over the top. And my hope is that this will neutralize it. Neutralize that purple tone, take it more toward a neutral color. Normally I use a gray base coat, and then I go over it with a green like this, and then I finish with a pink. And I'm not sure where I'm going to go this time. It depends on how it looks, but we were using a Pathfinder color, boggard green, which is, this is really close. I would use like 9036 pale olive was my first go-to. This is a little paler than I normally would use, but that's all right. When you have a really pale color like this, chances are you aren't even going to see the green. It's just going to look like a light color laid over that purple. I'm also going to get my brown liner because I want to fill in her mouth and her eyes. And we will layer this up. Looks like I used a skin tone plus a purple, reddish purple to start with. I don't remember. I don't think I noted it. One second, let me look. Maybe I noted it. Oh yeah, I did. No, I didn't. Nope. Apparently, I was just like, I'll approximate it. I think now that I think about it, I think I used nut brown plus an off-white, because nut brown is essentially your way to get ashen brown, and that is a color that's been used for this before. And I don't have ashen brown in my drawer here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but do let Reaper know. Like I said, it helps us, and they'll send you another bottle of paint probably. Because salvaging most of the bottle of paint is fine and dandy, but not what we aim for. We aim for you actually to be able to use your bottle of paint and not have 3/4 or 2/3 of a bottle of paint arrive. That is not what we are into. So definitely help. Help at reapermini.com. Take advantage of our excellent customer service. And that's true with anything, not just paint, guys. If you get a model that has a lot of mold lines or really bad shift or something, contact Help at Reaper. Like, we try to catch, our QC tries to catch that stuff. and we would rather like make it good, like, than have you be unhappy with our product. Which is why I worked for Reaper for 17 years. Well, technically I'm still working for Reaper, so. The 20th anniversary of Anne is coming up this coming year. Quindy, we're gonna have to do something truly amazing. Because Ed always forgot my anniversary, so, you know, in memory of Ed, we're gonna do something like funky maybe, and like make Dave go. It's purple. It's purple, Agent Marvel. Yes, it is a light purplish pink. That's exactly what it is, Agent Marvel. You are seeing it correctly. I wanted to start with an ashen brown. So I started with, where's my nut brown? I have apparently misplaced my nut brown, or I took it into the other room to work on something. But I started with nut brown, which is, of course, a Bones color. It's one of the weird Bones browns. Then I added an off-white. I may need that color, so I may have to actually leave you guys for just a second and venture into David's den to retrieve my nut brown, because I could use that. I could use that because I'm going to need to touch up the skin for sure. Why do I take all the colors I want into here? Yeah, what have I done? I'm just losing paint left and right. I have no idea where my nut brown went, but apparently it wasn't in the other room. So I'll just have to wing it. So if you want to mix nut brown, you need brown and a purple. And I would probably use russet and sticks. I'll probably use these two. Yeah, we need to do something. It's my 20 years. I mean, I would like to do something cool. So I'm going to do a couple drops of the russet brown. I'm going to do a drop of the sticks purple. I think I'm actually going to do a drop of orchid purple as well, because I want that reddish tone that you've noted. So orchid is a very reddish purple that came from the Kickstarter, but it is now available. I would recommend you guys pick it up. It is fantastic. I'm using it a lot lately. I used orchid purple on this lady. She's a lot of orchid purple, that reddish purple there. Very, very orchid. So we'll do brown and purple. Pretty much I'm just like mixing off the top of my head because I'm like, I need to recreate this color. Let's just throw some pigments at it. And this is what I would do sometimes in the mixing lab when I was just like, I need an X or a Y. And I would just throw colors at it until I would get close. Apparently I've lost my creamy ivory as well, which is probably also in the other room, but I've got my Osirian sand, so I'm okay. As long as I've got Osirian sand. Technically I also have bleached linen, but I'll put some Osirian sand in and see what it looks like. So what we're aiming for is a purplish brown. Let's get back up there. Yeah, this is the one that everybody voted that they wanted me to paint. Yeah, that's close to the right color. Actually, that's really close to the right color plus white. That's funny. Haha. Anne still got it, guys. Anne still got it. So now I'm going to put some of this over here. As I add more white, and this time I'm going to switch to bleached linen if I can find it. There. Hey, Roger. Yeah, this was actually one of the minis that I was least interested in painting. But you guys wanted me to, so I decided to do it anyway. Alright, so we need a little bit more purple. As I add white, whenever you're not sure if the color that you're mixing is a match, add white to it. Take a closer look. So now I can tell that this is a little more purple, a little more reddish, so I'm going to add more orchid. But I don't need very much. So I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit of orchid onto my brush and pop it in there, and that's really close. Really close. Yeah, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to be with that. That is close enough for me to touch up the skin tone. That's what I want. Yeah, maybe I've just painted too many versions of her, or too many female necromancers, or I'm not sure why. She's cool. Alrighty, so now let's get onto this. Now I may need to thin my green a bit more. Where's my Winsor Newton? Okay. May need to thin my green a bit more because it's got a lot of white in it, and it may decide it doesn't want to layer nicely. So I'm going to try it, but I can almost guarantee that we're not going to get good blending. So we will go here, and we're going to get down, and we're going to get in focus. And we're going to try this green a little bit. Well, it's not as bad as I feared. I'm still seeing brush strokes. I feel like I want just a little bit more water. So I threw some water in there. Majority rules when we do votes, Shadow Raven, is the, if it was just Anne has you vote and then totally ignores what you say, it would be like Twitter. And I don't want to be like Twitter. I would prefer to listen to you. When I give you guys the opportunity to vote, it's always just, I'm not particularly inspired to paint any particular one of the models, so I'd like you to tell me which one you would be most interested in. So I'm going to lighten over the temples first. I'm going to bring in light on the forehead here, using mostly just the very tip of the brush for tiny details on the face. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my shadow color that I just mixed to kind of blend these together. Yeah, and I'll get to those other models. I mean, I prepped them, so I am going to paint them. It just means it might take me a little longer. Like, we just finished Kitty, the Necromancer, so I'm going to totally take one of those models and replace the Necromancer with it. So we're bringing in that pallid green, and as you can see, it loses a lot of its greenness. Now, most of the forehead is on a figure like this, which has a broad forehead. Most of the forehead is going to be pale. And it can be challenging to blend over the top of two colors that are completely dissimilar. So I'm going to do a little bit of wet blending here. By picking up tiny bits of each color and trying to get a little bit of a gradient going on. But in general, on 28s, you aren't able to do anything really subtle. It gets lost in the scale. So she's got sculpted eyebrows. I'll bring some of the highlight right down to those on either side. I do want to fill in her eyes and the brows, so I'll get to that. So I told David we had to watch Tim's Vermeer, and he was like, hey, wait a minute, I've heard of that. He's a huge Penn and Teller fan, and they actually produced and directed it. Which I had not known, so that's pretty cool. So blackening the eyes, which are very widely spaced. She looks a little creepy as it is. I'm gonna get her mouth. She's got a tiny little mouth. Nice. Yeah, that sounds tasty. I like Mongolian beef. Hi, Pa. What's up? What's up, Papa? Do you want me to open up the window a little bit more so it's colder in here? I bet you would like that. I am wearing my flannel. I could do that for you. Yeah. She's like, I don't know if I want to collapse by Mama. I am going to crack the window just a little bit. Hold on. That way if she wants to come in and lie here, she can. Here you go, Papa. And it's not the season for yard work, so we're pretty safe. So just to remind you guys, I am on tomorrow morning, but I am not on Monday. Taking a day off to contemplate my year past and plan my goals for this coming year, which of course is a very exciting year with publishing my books and all. So I'm an introspective kind of person that way. I like to look. Also, I find that by looking back over the past year, I get like a sense of accomplishment, because usually, even if I haven't like made my big goal or one of my big goals, I've always made progress. Hey, Dogfather, thanks for the resub. 34 months. Good day. So you'll need to look back at the beginning of the stream, Dogfather. I had a Kiki on my lap. And she mostly just licked and nibbled me and did not like nom on me until she got overexcited. Because puppy. David was super funny. This morning I was chatting with Bridget, who's my friend who's also Kiki's breeder, and David was like, we have the most beautiful puppy in the litter and I'm not biased at all. And then 5 minutes later she was eating his shoelaces and he's like, I don't like this puppy. I want to return her and get a new one. Yeah, and yeah, it's totally good to look back. Yeah, because usually you've gotten more done than you think, right? And so it can be really encouraging to look back and kind of see that you've done stuff, right? Or maybe you learned a new technique, or maybe you look at your mini next to the mini you painted last year, you know, and you've progressed. So these eyebrows, even eyebrows that are sculpted on, can of course be kind of hard to paint. And these are going to be beastly. They're just really thin. And I'm not having a good, like, detail day. So after I sketch those in, I'm going to trim them up because obviously they've grown onto her forehead. That's all right. When you're using such light colored paint, it's pretty easy to touch up. So we will shave her eyebrows. There we go. Though honestly, I want the bust of this character, but I want one of her eyebrows to be pierced, I think. She looks like she's always struck me. Terezinya as a character has always struck me as being one of those goth industrial babes. So I want the version of her. She's already got the combat boots. I should totally paint them like Doc Martens. So trimming up her eyebrows there. Oh yeah. Yeah, I bet frozen pipes all over the place. It's that season. Need to get the eyelids. She's got her eyes are like half closed, and so it'll make it hard to paint the eyes proper. But we do need to hit the I never was into the mini skirts, but I wore the docs. Although I was an early adopter of alternative stuff, and so I actually had docs, like wore docs in the 80s. The 90s is when docs really hit over here. I think I only knew about Doc Martens in the 80s because I followed a lot of British music. Lighten up that forehead. The thing about busts, though, is not everybody knows how to sculpt one, and it's not as easy. Even in ZBrush, you can't really just like turn a 28 into a bust, because if you blow it up that much, all of the detail is too thick. Yeah, I don't know about this. There. I'm trying to go back and forth between my purple and my green. It's always a challenge when you're layering one completely different color over another. You have to like figure out how you're going to make it work. Yes, it was those boots. The boots always make you highly suspicious. So, because 28 faces are so small, it can be really hard to hit the, pretty much all you need to do is to hit the points. Like I guess hard isn't the right word. It's actually very simple. You only have so much space to execute, and you don't have to blend perfectly. So one thing you want to do on busts and regular is to make sure that your highlight here under the eye actually goes up to the side of the nose. Make sure you bring it up. Don't just leave it on the cheekbone. Bring it up to that inner corner of the eye. And then you've got, usually on female faces, younger females, you've got a straight, flat, kind of a angle going straight down to the mouth. Because the front of the face is pretty flat. So you're going to see light going down straight on it. It might be easier to just sculpt a whole new one, Pendrake. I don't know. I'd have to talk to the sculptors about that. I don't know if you could even use the original as an armature, or if that's more trouble than it's worth. No idea. Haven't talked to the sculptors about that. Yeah. So whenever you get a chalkiness or a grittiness to your pale paints, which I'm running into just a little here, it's usually the amount of pigment or lack thereof. So often a paint that is very pale doesn't have as much pigment in it, both because it can't, because it's got the white base, which is already preloaded with a different white pigment, and just because you don't need much pigment to hit your color. So sometimes off-whites don't actually have as much white pigment or as much other pigment. And sometimes this will cause them, when thinned, to get a certain chalkiness. There's an easy fix for this, and it means just glazing your mid color, your darker color, your beginning skin color, glazing that over the top, and it will disappear. I don't remember how much pigment this green has in it. It's got to have a decent amount because I did it later in my mixing career, but right, exactly. All the features are very large, so you can't even see them on 28s, right? I mean, and that's the problem with, well, Tom Meyer, right? Like, he's a sculptor for Dark Sword, and he does really much more realistic proportions on 28s than other sculptors. But that means his stuff is so hard to paint. Just so hard to paint. All right, let's get a little bit more water in this brown. I'm going to put some Orchid Purple blush on her, I think. I'm going to get down to that in a second. But yeah, like her nose would be immense on and her eyes would be like alien baby huge on a blown up copy. Interesting, Valandar, because the fair skin triad I find is very problematic. I don't use it for that reason. Except fair skin shadow. That's fair skin shadow's okay. But with the rosy triad, honestly, I find I have the best luck by using rosy skin and just adding white, pure white specifically. We're going to get some of this lovely orchid purple, very, very gothy blush color for you, for our goth girl. The fair skin triad is also very close together, so if you're layering with it, you're going to have an easy experience, relatively speaking. Your paint can be relatively thick, and you can still get a decent looking blend. But with rosy, there's a lot of variance between the colors, and so that could be one reason that you had a harder time. Yeah, that would be it, Valandar, because like I said, the fair skin triad is very close together, so it would support that sort of thing. You could use thicker paint and just glaze, but the rosy triad is very far apart. Very different. Each paint is very different from the others, and so a glaze wouldn't do it. You'd have to do 50-50 mixes, Valandar, to make that work. So like you'd have to do a 50-50 mix of rosy and shadow and a 50-50 mix of rosy and highlight, then do your glazing. Oh, interesting. What scale is the figure? Is it a 28? Or bigger? Yeah, see, I would think that sort of technique would work a lot better on a bigger figure where you had more room. Sometimes when we try to pull off some of that cool stuff, like I said, on these tiny little figures, it just doesn't really carry. I'm going to thin this mid-tone a little bit more now that I'm just adjusting with it. Oh, yeah, that's way tiny. Yeah, I hate to say it, but sometimes our the beloved Reaper 28mm or 28mm heroic scale, like, it's just too little. It's too little to do some of the cool stuff. And if you try to do some of the cool stuff, you struggle. Bring in that blush and blended it. Oh, yeah. So, I don't advise doing really tiny figures for competitions. On that note. But it's too late. So just do what you can. I mean, sometimes you've chosen the model and you just want to do it, and you just need to go forward with it. But in general, because like gnome or halfling size models or the kid adventurers, they tend to be they're just really small. You just don't have a lot of room to work with things. Okay, well, good. I mean, if you can do it, Valandar, great. it's just, you're definitely setting yourself up for a difficult paint when you do that. The little stuff. I didn't quite get all these fingers. Hello, Nurgle Matthew. Hello, Val. All right, so we're doing a purpley skin tone, and we're putting some green over the top just for fun. Fun to see what happens. And so far, it's looking pretty okay. I'm having to futz with it a lot because, you know, highlighting with a totally different color thing is... And a lot of that, when I do this sort of thing, a lot of the subtlety is just lost on the camera. But you can kind of see the shifting colors there. But yeah, make a mental note. Oh, and I forgot to line around that hand too. Well then, let's line around that. I don't recommend doing really small figures for competition. It's hard to do your best work on them. And you don't have a lot of room to do a lot. But, I mean, if you're able to do the micro and do the little tiny freehand in the tiny space you have, then go for it. But in general, were you painting a larger model, you could show your stuff a bit better, in my experience. But then again, my moniker is painting big, so for a reason. Getting into the mood to paint again now that the holidays are over. Yeah, definitely do the orchid purple. It's a pretty, pretty color. I want it to stay in print. Ah! Falling down. Alright, I wanted to line around and shade around the bottom of that skull. I think I'm just going to paint some shadows on. And then we'll get on with our... oh, excellent. Yeah, it's really good blush color when you mix it with your skin tone. It's a good, it's a beautiful purple when you highlight it with skin tones. I recommend using Rosy Skin. Speaking of Rosy Skin, I recommend using Rosy Skin for it. All right, so I've got some nice shadow painted down under that, so that's cool. So she's going very, very pale now. So now I've got to paint the other side of her face, which is really annoying because, of course, it is really interrupted by the skull here. So I'm going to have to approach it from a weird angle. Put the blush on. Oh, there's samples, Kelbo. It's a seasonal or a sample. It's still December, so you might have gotten a... if it was cold, it must have been the Rudolph Red, right? Or whatever it was. It sounds like the Christmas gift sampler because it was red. And I think they had like a Rudolph nose or something, or a reindeer nose, or some red color this year, along with the coal black. But if it has a name on it, but you can't find it on the website, that means it's a holiday color. So I'm having to come in and notice that I'm moving the figure and I'm anchoring my hand so that I can still paint at the correct angle for, you know, the angle I always paint at. And this is really important when you're painting something tiny, but you're trying to paint precisely and it's an awkward angle. It's really important to move the figure around until you can paint using your usual brush angle so that you have more of the brush control you need to paint the tiny things. Oh, Regulator Scarlet. Huh. Yeah, if it had a name, then I have no idea. Unless it was, yeah, I'm not sure what that color would be. I'm not, that sounds like a calf color. The name does not ring a bell. $291. Oh, okay. It's a fast palette color. Yeah, but it helps me, Kelleblum. If it's 2.9, it's a fast palette color, which means that's why I don't know it, because it was in a fast palette that I don't have. I'm not sure why it was in the order, unless they mislabeled some, or they or there was a blorf. Sometimes if there's a labeling issue, like the labels get too high or too low, they'll relabel a batch. And then some of the labels will get too thick, like too thickly built up, and they'll sample some of it. Otherwise, I'm not sure why it would be in there. If it's a sample, then they may not be able to send you a new one. Like if it was just like a paint that a promo paint. Uh-huh. Yeah, they may not be able to send a replacement. Oh, okay. Sci-Fi Color from Reaper Virtual Expo. That's why. Okay, so they're getting through the rest of those. There we go. So D. Clearman had the answer. Because any extra paints from, like, the Virtual Expo would be, like, if they discovered an old batch of paint or an extra batch of paint, they would totally sample it. So yeah, so you may or may not be able to get a replacement depending on if they still have supplies of that color. So I'm painting from the side, which means I have to go back to the front to adjust, make sure I've got my colors correct. Yeah, that's the thing about reds, and I tell you guys this a lot, but there's only so many reds that we can make, and so when a new red comes out, chances are it's very close to another color. Which doesn't mean that it's not useful, because sometimes the very close to another color actually is slightly more utilitarian, or it's just a little bit different in a way that I really like. For example, Griffin Golden Brown compared to Chestnut Gold. I actually prefer Griffin. Even though they're very, very close to each other. So now I've got her face coming up. We still have purple in the shadows. We still have, there's just not a lot of room to leave those shadows out there. So you can see the purple still, especially from the sides, but the front of her face is definitely lighting up with that luminous green. Yeah, the nozzle issue is the big thing to tell them about, right? Is that they may have an issue there. So hopefully they'll check it. Pardon me, got a lot of stuff in the air this morning. It rained last night, so I am very allergied. Ugh. Lots of allergies today. All right, we've got just a little bit of skin showing in here. So really I just need a little touch of my green where the light would be falling, which is mostly on this side. Under here, her chin would be overshadowing it, so we wouldn't extend our highlight under there. We would just put it here. Down here, we do both sides. And leave the shadow in the middle. Yeah, thank God for ceramic sinks because it's easier to, porcelain sinks, it's so easy to scrub the paint off. I'm sure our cleaning service, that when they come, they were like, what do they do to their sink? So I think I will be streaming on my own channel this Saturday. I know I've been off and on this month just because stuff is happening. But if I'm good, I should be done with my Patreon. I'm going to try to blow through it today. I finished a bunch of it yesterday. And that means I'll have time to stream on Saturday. So really bringing that skin up, you can see how it's lighter than the bones material. Very pallid. Oh, it's stainless steel, yeah. Oh well. But yeah, so twitch.tv/paintingbig. I usually stream around 3:30 p.m. USA Central Time on Saturdays, and I'll be working on my Anubis. I really want to finish him because I want to start the new model that David got for me, which is the new lady from Big Child with the. She's supposed to be a mage with a bird on her arm, but I'm actually going to paint her as a ranger. I want to do different. I want to do her differently than other people. So, and I think she makes a good ranger. All right, let's try to get this highlight built up on her leg. Usually that thigh highlight goes all the way down to the knee. And you can see how thin my paint is. You see how that blends in almost effortlessly? Like it's a true layering blend at this point where you cannot see the start of the brush stroke and you can see the end. And you need your paint to be a specific consistency to get that kind of blend. Now I'm seeing more brush strokes. And that can be because as you paint, if you're not reloading, a lot of the fluid in your brush comes out on the first round, and then your paint is drying in your brush as you wait. And so you can actually have the same brush full of paint go from a beautiful blend to brush strokes just because you've lost most of the water. And if you notice that you are getting a little bit of streakiness, add just a tiny bit of water to your paint. So I'm going to add just a little bit, just like enough water on my brush like this. Not even a full drop. I'm just going to add a little bit. Fine tuning. The nice thing is that if your paint puddles are big enough in a well palette like I use, once you have dialed in this blending consistency, it will stay that way for at least 15 or 20 minutes. Which is why I love my well palette, because I often these days I'm not doing the pure layering. I used to do this, used to be just the way I painted, but it is very slow. I still paint this way for skin tones when I need them to be smooth. But more often these days I use more wet blending. To move a little swifter, I've got a little bit of line here, so a little glaze. We got a Costco membership right after we got married, but we've only used it once. I probably should go over and see what I can pick up. My problem is, like, a lot of the foods, I'm very conscious of which foods are actually good frozen and which aren't. So I'm not willing to just pick up a bunch of chicken breast or stuff like that because I know it doesn't freeze all that great. So I use it for like high fat content meats. Mostly I use it for like cleaning supplies, like you guys are saying. It's definitely a money saver in the like dishwasher detergent and stuff department. So we've got our thigh rounded out, and we've got down to the knee. There's a little bit of a highlight that belongs at the rear of the leg as well. Like so. Yeah, layering and glazing was my bread and butter for the longest time, Calblom. I used to be known for like just my perfect smooth blends back in the day when that was fashionable. Nowadays, everybody's moving more toward texture. I really enjoy textures, so I've moved that way myself. But I still do enjoy the layering. If I'm really spending time on like a competition level piece and I need smooth blends on the skin, I will absolutely spend the time on a bigger model like busts. Because then you've got some room to work and it can be so impressive. I do love technique. I sometimes call myself a technique whore, and I do love it. I enjoy high-level execution of the various techniques. And I really feel like a foundation in technique. I agree with the old masters. I agree that a foundation in technique is something that essentially becomes part of your toolbox forever, and then you always have the tool you need. All right, so we've got that going on there. And again, if you get a little chalky, glaze. Grab your skin base coat, this color right here, and do a glaze. I'm just going to keep going here. And again, we're putting green over this, but notice the green doesn't look green. It actually just looks white. It looks really pallid. So it's bleaching out. It looks very unnatural, which is what we wanted if we were going to suggest that she was a vampire or a necromancer or both. But yeah, I do like getting into the zone and futzing around with really fine blends and glazing to get that just really perfect finish. Makes me happy in my soul. So how I get into my Zen zone. And I'm not going to go as pale on this leg because it's recessed, whereas this one is sticking out into the light more, so it's going to catch the light more. Always remember that. Kind of remember your light sourcing. Hey there, Kiki. It's nice and cool in here. You gonna settle? Yeah, I opened the window for you. Good girl. Yes, I opened the window. We can go on a walk soon. Good girl. She's like, I was with Daddy, but it was warm back there. Daddy doesn't open the window for me like Mama does. Yeah, right, Keekers? Yeah. There we go. So we got that nice, real smooth, real subtle. I do love subtlety on some areas, but so we've got light, 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 a little bit. I'll actually put just a tiny bit more here just to bring the legs a little bit more together. Yeah, good girl. Yep, the Keekers is hanging out with us. In the appropriate spot even. So just a little bit more there on the upper thigh to bring it a little bit more in line with this. There. We won't do quite as much highlighting on the underside of the hand, again, because when it's in shadow, it's going to stay a little bit darker. It's definitely in shadow on the underside of this book. So I'm going to do one layer, and I'm probably going to glaze over it with the base skin tone. Let's see, we're almost for Kiki. And I'll just get the tips of the fingers as they're more out toward the light. No, just a little bit more toward that, and then I'm actually going to shade it down with a bit of this mid-tone. Glaze it, bring it down a bit. Wick off any excess fluid. You don't want it to dry funny. There, it's a little bit better. So it's pale, but it's there. Hey there, Geeks, you leaving already? Yeah? Hey, hon, could you let her out? What? Could you let Kiki out? I'm in the middle of something. Okay. She's just going to have to deal. I think she's restless because she has to go. What time do we have? Oh, we have a lot of time. You need to go out? I can flip out very quickly right here. Okay, David managed to free himself up and let her out. No? Interesting. She was acting restless. Thank you for trying. She's at that precarious stage where, like, I think she's fully housebroken, but I'm not guaranteed she's fully housebroken. We have room for a lot of it, but especially now that we have the extra freezer in the garage, but it's just, yeah. It's just so much. Like, the packages are so much, and we don't eat that much. Like, our portion sizes are pretty small as, like, a couple of older people who are trying to not, you know, gain weight. So we are pretty, you know, we don't do seconds, you know, we eat fairly small portions, and so Costco just feels like it's, like, just too much. And I do cook and freeze stuff when we do things like stews and curries. But I don't, yeah, I feel like at the end of the year we're going to assess our Costco membership and come to the conclusion that's not worth it. Unless there's something, like, integral that I get from there that I really do save a lot of money on. But, I mean, it'd have to be a lot of money to pay for the membership. Getting the light in there again just to kind of bring up some details down here, and then we can glaze. Yeah, she's pretty happy. I mean, she's usually pretty happy just with me during the day. She settles down pretty nice. But yeah, she certainly likes having both of us home. I mean, normally she's just stuck with me. Maybe David will take our walk with us. Maybe she'll have both Mom and Dad on her walk. So I'm going to glaze over the bottom of that hand just to knock it down just a little bit. See, and I do not, you may miss clocks that were just clocks, Pendrick. I do not miss phones that were just phones because I hate phones. So nothing makes me happier than that I now have a pocket computer that I can totally ignore when it rings at me. Don't ever try to get a hold of me with a phone call, guys. You're just not going to have it. It's not going to work. I hate the phone. I've hated the phone since I was a kid. And so it gives me great pleasure to be able to completely ignore my phone-like device and instead just treat it as if it is a pocket computer, which is mostly what I use it for. I appreciate its pocket computer qualities. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I'm likely to do, is paper products and cleaning supplies. Because then it seems like you really do save a lot of money there. And socks. They had great winter socks this year. I love socks. I love warm, cozy socks for the winter, and so I totally succumbed and bought some fuzzy socks and some merino wool socks, a pair of which I am wearing as we speak. So I'm going to get just that little highlight in there between the sleeve and the bracer. This finger sticks out a little bit, so I'm going to highlight a little bit more. Alrighty, and I think all we have to do now is this little elbow, and it's just coming out a little bit, so we're just going to get a little tiny highlight on it. And I'm kind of happy that a watch isn't just a watch, because honestly, my new Fitbit is so cool. I am doing, having made latkes, which are really just, Jewish potato pancakes, for our prime rib. I made prime rib soup last night, and so I think I'm going to make more potato pancakes, except I'm going to do parsnip and turnip, because I actually don't like potatoes. They're a bit more carby than I want, but turnips are less carby than potatoes, as are parsnips, and I love the flavor of parsnips. So usually instead of potato gratins, I do turnip gratins, if I'm going to do a gratin. And so I figured I would try to make parsnip pancakes. Yeah, you're supposed to fry them in beef fat. I use, I typically save just a couple of cubes of the fat from the prime rib and just use those to flavor the rest of the fat. Because I don't keep a lot of the rendered fat from my prime ribs. Because usually, actually this one didn't have a whole lot till the end when I really pumped up the heat. Since I'm doing it so low and slow, I don't see a lot of fat rendering until the very end. Oh yeah, the super washes are kind of like that. When I did the Necromancer, we started playing with the super washes, Kellabloom. So if you wanna, they're not quite contrast paints, but the teal and the purple on the Necromancer here were started with the contrast over Zenith, or sorry, with the super wash over Zenith, and then I went on and highlighted them a bit more. So. So yeah, so it's kind of like, yeah, it's a speed intensifying tool. All right, I think we have our, I'm going to grab some pure white and do just a tiny end bit highlight to her skin. But I'm still not happy with the forehead, so I'm going to come up here and play. There. And I want to do those eyelids just a little bit more. Alrighty, I think we got all of the skin. She's very, very pale now. They mix really well, so you could totally use the black to tint the red or the blue. I mixed them, just that I found I had the most fun just mixing them with each other to make new colors. But that's me. Alright, let's grab our pure white. To get a perfect blend with pure white, you want a 2.5 to 1 ratio of water to paint. The easiest way to do this in a well palette is to put 2 drops of paint and 5 drops of water. That dials it in pretty perfectly. That is the most you will ever have to thin a Master Series paint, other than glazing. Glazing is just supposed to be colored water. But as far as executing like layering techniques, every technique except for glazing, I would say, if you are thinning more than this, you are doing it wrong. And the other exception is if you're building a wash, but with a wash you shouldn't be adding water, you should be adding mostly medium or brush on sealer. So this will be my 2.5 to 1. You want to brush with a really good tip to do micro highlights on the face. Usually I was just doing a single line like right under the eye. Yeah, I love my immersion blender for soups. I make my cream of mushroom soup for the holidays to go into the green bean casserole, and I use the immersion blender. I would do the nose, but not the upper area under the upper lip, or above the upper lip. I would not do that with the pure white, but I would do the chin. There's really not enough room to do like little dots at the corner of that lower lip, but I did it a bit. You can get them pretty cheap. Bed Bath & Beyond had the immersion blenders on sale. Recently I got a new one because my old one was pretty beat up and was pretty cheap to begin with. You can also get a whisk attachment for them, which if you don't have one for your mixer, is really, really useful. I'm gonna just line the bottom side of the lip here. And since I am going up to pure white in the skin, I will go up to pure white with the eyes as well, which I normally would not do, but she's also got very narrowed eyes. And so, hi there, Pa. Papa. You were saying hi. Come here, Papa. Say hi. Good girl. Hi, big head. Your head is so huge. How'd you get such a huge head? How did this happen? Your head is as big as you were when you were a tiny pupper. And now it's immense. Yeah. Your whole body was that big once. Interesting. Soap making, huh? I love handmade soaps, but I never got into the hobby of making them because I have too many hobbies. Papa, you better not be trying to get the stuffed animals. Leave them, please. I have the Game of Thrones direwolf puppies plushes, and Kiki has obviously discovered them. And she's like, "Is that for me?" And the answer is no. They're in the closet, and she was just nosing around. Very small face. But you can see how the green doesn't come through at all, even though I'm using a very much a green. Because it is pale and because I am applying it in very small touches, you really don't see the green at all. It just, essentially, it neutralizes the purple because the purple has a lot of red in it. Just accentuating my highlight here on the knee. Makeup is only useful if you're using it, and I'm not really on this figure, although I will be using a little bit of Orchid Purple like right under the brows, I think, just because. Pop some color into her face. Makeup on 28s is kind of, like I said, the most you can do is like eyeshadow usually. And the key with eyeshadow usually is to try to make it lighter toward the interior and darker toward the exterior, like the interior of the eye. But I generally don't do makeup on my models. Would it maybe aid you in where to put highlighting? Probably not, because most of the time you're doing, you're doing shading with the blush, but that's about it. You're actually trying to even out the skin tone with foundation. Now we've got that. We've got the legs, so you can see the highlights. Once we have the rest of the stuff painted in, then her face, everything will look very pale. Really, really bleached out. The thing with makeup is that you want to not be noticed that you want it that you want to not be noticed for wearing it. Like, in my opinion, the best makeup is the makeup you don't notice. Even though I was a child of the 80s. And God knows they went over the top with makeup in that decade. But when I do makeup for myself, it's very subtle. There we go. All right, so we're looking pretty okay. I think I want to, interestingly enough, I have a thought. I have a thought, guys. I think makeup is less useful than understanding where highlights fall on faces. I got much better at faces once I understood the way that light tends to touch the various parts of the face. I never studied makeup. I just, natural lighting is more value. Knowing where your highlights and shadows fall naturally on a face. Because really you're just trying to overemphasize some of that with makeup. Yeah, makeup, it does make you consider face shapes, but so does highlighting. For me, it was just light. I guess you could take the same, I mean, both of them lead to the same place. As long as you remember that makeup still is artificial, but it is trying to, for pain plastic surgery, yes, makeup was useful. I decided to try some purple hair. Yep, have fun, Crowley. Yeah, I suppose you could get there from both ways. You could either come at it from the makeup way, which is more like, how do I create the illusion of depth, which is, to be fair, that is what we do on 28mm faces, so you're right there, Caliban. Because a lot of the time on 28mm, you really are creating an illusion of features. Their features are there, but they're very simplified and very bold. And you have to kind of bring them out and make them look. Oh, okay. She just got that one lock coming down. Got it. And is that also her hair? That's the bird's tail. It's not her hair. Ah! there, Keeks. Hi. Hi, Keeks. Just checking in. I'm going to do a general highlight across here first. Not paying attention to the strands that are sculpted, just making a general straight highlight. And then we're going to pay attention to the strands more. Oh, my puppy is playing with things in the hallway. What are you doing out there, Keeker? And another general highlight out here. Okay. I want a white streak down the center, and I want a white streak to the temple there. And I'll probably bring that color of the orchid up actually closer to red. But not yet. And we are almost to the end of stream. So now I'll take my white back in and I'll concentrate more on strands. My paint's really thin. I could thicken it up a little bit for this. Are you playing out there, Kiki? I hear you growling around. I hear you growling. What a silly girl. So now I'm coming in, I'm paying more attention to strands. You can see those coming through. It's Twitch. Start Puppy 2 tonight, huh? Oh, yeah. Fun, Miss Tim. I'm sorry. Yeah, that actually, thanks for the reminder. I need to get on and see what classes are available for Keekster. She has one more in her package. I'm debating halting her training for a while, her formal training for a while, and just working on foundational stuff like focus, watch me, leave it. Because gosh knows I can do that myself. And she's, we get enough proofing, honestly, now. And it'll only get more so when, it'll only get more so as the weather warms up, because we have a lot of dogs in our neighborhood already. So I already can work on her. Work on her skills a little bit more without having to go to class. It's a ways away. I wanted to go to this particular franchise because I had heard good things about them, and I like one of the trainers a lot. Not a big fan of the other trainer, and I'm not sure that I wanted you, like, they offer a Canine Good Citizen program, like you work up to it, but I think I know how to train for a lot of that. I'd rather wait and work with Kiki on my own and then take her back into class when she's older and has more attention span, more brain cells. Proofing is essentially when you escalate. Henrik, when you first train a dog, you usually want to do it in a space where the dog can give you their undivided attention. So, for example, you want to do it in your backyard where the dog is really familiar, or even in the house where there's not a lot of distraction. So your dog learns the command and understands what it means. But then you have to proof it. And what that means is taking your dog out into the world with distractions and, again, asking for that command. So your dog can have a flawless recall in your backyard at home, but that does you no good if you take the dog on a walk, it gets off its leash, and your dog doesn't care, right? Because it's too overstimulated and it doesn't even hear you say the word, or if it does hear you say the word to call it, it just decides to ignore it. So the best way to train is to make sure your dog has a solid command of the command in a distraction-free area, and then to slowly escalate the amount of distraction. You always want to be working on what they call under threshold, which is there's a threshold but which there is too much stimulation in the environment and your dog it just unfocuses on you. So you start with very small amount of distraction, like maybe on a quiet side street on your walk, and then you escalate that to in the park, but with kids playing, a ways away, and then you escalate it to, oh, there's a dog on the other side of the street, and I'm still being asked to sit and stay, And until you get to the point where you can call the dog when they're in the middle of a play session at the park, and the dog comes to you. So that's what proofing is. Essentially, you're escalating the amount of distraction to give your pup, because you're not trying to make your pup fail. It's more that you want her to get used to a gradually escalating amount of distraction so that she can handle it. So she learns that she can stay focused on you, or they learn that they can stay focused on you, even when there's a lot of distraction. Yeah, David, I hear it. Yeah, Kiki has a very, very limited attention span. She's got a high arousal or a low arousal threshold, so she goes from 0 to 60. She goes over the top very quickly. So I really have to watch and see where her attention starts to fragment, and then kind of walk away from that stimulus until we can engage again. It is frustrating. It takes a lot of work. I want a little bit stronger white, so I'm going to actually grab. Yes, it's really tough with herding dogs. Yes. And that's the Keekster, at least for 3/4 of her lineage. Yeah, herding breeds do tend to want to focus on everything, and so it is a challenge to teach them that they can let go of everything and just focus on you. But honestly, sometimes that's the best thing for those dogs, because a lot of herding breeds can be oversensitive, where they're really kind of flighty and nervous around the environment, or they just get just too over the top. And so teaching them that they can always reorient on you and calm down is actually some of the best stuff you can do for those dogs. And I love herding breeds. I've had herding breeds since I was a kid. They are my favorite. But yeah, I will admit that is the challenge, right? Oh, building a house next door so your yard is too much of a distraction too. Less distractions at the pet store. Oh my God, missed him. Maybe, have you tried, I don't know if you have room in your garage or if you have a garage, Miss Dimp, but sometimes that's pretty good, because you can get the puppy out there without the other dogs. Or if you have a guest bedroom, that can also be one where you can just kind of retreat, get the puppy used to it, and then do training in there. Strengthen my white a little bit so I can start really bringing it up. You can see the difference there. Keekster's like, isn't your stream over yet, Mama? There we go. But yeah, that's the thing is a lot of people, the biggest mistakes with dog training are usually people asking too much of their dog too soon, especially with a young pup, or being impatient and not wanting to do the proofing. I made that mistake when I was a kid. I just got impatient with it too quickly. The garage is the cat safe room. That's a bummer. Papa, are you being bad? I heard David protesting. So I figured the papa was becoming a pain in the butt. There we go, some bit more bright white. Yeah, I think Kiki's trying to play with David, and he is not like wanting her to play with him. But it is time to end the stream so that I can rescue David from my dog. Yes, in fact, we went a little long today to make up for other streams where we have gone a little short. Yeah. Kiki's a check-in. Like, she'll go and she'll lie down in the other room if it's the coolest spot, but every once in a while she'll come and check in. That's actually cool. I like that. I'm cool with that. Now that we can trust her not to chew everything. So that's what we're doing, and that's where we're at. Hi, Keeks. Do you want to go outside? Do you want to go for your walk? Is it time to play? Is it time to go outside? Oh, no nibbles, please. No nibbles. No nibbles. Can I play? She's like, I want to play. I don't want pettins. That's what she's at. I'm going to stream tomorrow, off Monday, and I will be doing my own stream on twitch.tv/paintingbig on Saturday. We're going to work on the Anubis and see how far we can get toward getting him finished, because I really want to start on a bust. Oh, no Josh today. No Reaperland. I think I saw that run by. Oh, no. All right, cool, guys. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope that if I back up a bit, we can see this more like it looks in real life. And yeah, I'm liking how things are coming along. I think next time I'm gonna work on the hair and on the dress, because the dress is that, you see that black red. And I think that having the red, a higher red up here is gonna help to force this back toward black. So that's my theory. I'm going to figure it out. Maybe we'll do some cool underpainting on the dress. I haven't figured out. Maybe we'll do a brocade or something. But yeah, cool. Thank you so much for coming along, and I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Fishy. I feel like he's a rock star. Like, he just looks like he's a rock singer, and I just have to do Fishy every time he comes on. So yeah, we were working on, if you recall, we were finishing up the copper back here, which looks really cool. And then, yeah, we got, maybe we'll do the shoulder pads and the bracer this time. We are making good progress on all of his copper and making it look stunning. Oh, that's right, I was going to do cat tree tomorrow. Let me see. What do I feel like? Let me look at the cat. Let's see if I feel like the cat. Otherwise, the cat might get tabled. I guess we can work on a cat tomorrow. Okay, I'll bow to public opinion. We'll do cat. We'll swap. Oh, sorry, Quindy. We canceled Quindy's raid because we were flip-flopping like fish. So yes. All right, we'll do kitty tomorrow. We'll do cat dragon. We'll get as far as we can on cat dragon. Then anything left over gets tabled. Tabled till next Christmas. Oh, okay. But yes, that's what we'll do. We'll do Cat Dragon tomorrow, and that'll be the last time we see Cat Dragon, whether we finish it or not. Remind me tomorrow, otherwise I'm going to grab Fishy and totally forget. Okay, grabbing this. I've got all my things here. But yes, that is where we are. And thank you, everybody. And I'm going to let Quindy go through with her raid now by officially saying ta. And Miss Tim, good luck with your terrorist, your corgi terrorist. See y'all later. I got a puppy to take for a walk. Bye.